Hello and welcome back to the O'Day and Night podcast. I'm your host, Adam O'Day. Today I'll be ranking the four best Super Bowl champions of the 2020s, which I am including the 2019-2020 season since the Super Bowl was technically played in 2020. So, the best Super Bowl champ, in my opinion, was the Kansas City Chiefs in that 2019-2020 season. They had the fifth best scoring offense in the league at 28.2 points per game, and of the four teams that I'm ranking, they had the best scoring defense with just 19.3 points per game. Patrick Mahomes was their starting quarterback. He had just over 4,000 yards, 26 passing touchdowns, and 5 interceptions that year, along with 218 rushing yards and 2 scores on the ground. Tyrann Mathieu led this team with interceptions with 2. He also had 2 sacks and 75 tackles, one of 4 players on that defense with at least 74 tackles. So they were able to have a pretty balanced tackling defense. A lot of guys were able to haul in ball carriers regardless of position. And their 2 stud D linemen, Frank Clark and Chris Jones, combined for 17 sacks. Jones had 9 and Clark had 8. Now, the second best Super Bowl championship team from this decade so far was the 2021 Bucks. Now, this was Tom Brady's first season in Tampa Bay, and they defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 and didn't allow a single touchdown. Now, their offense wasn't lights out the entire game. Their defense was just that good. They were able to get a lot of pressure on Mahomes. And in the playoffs, their running game, especially Leonard Fournette, stepped up a lot. I remember seeing all those memes, playoff Lenny and all that. And this team scored 30.8 points a game in the regular season, third in the NFL that year, and the best scoring offense among this group. I mean, even though their defensive points per game allowed was the worst mark among this group of 4, allowing just 22 points a game. So, I mean, really just 3 touchdowns a game. Tom Brady threw for just over 4,600 yards and 40 touchdowns. I believe he led the league in passing yards this year. Mike Evans, his wide receiver 1, led this team in receiving yards with 1,006. Also added 13 touchdowns. And their 2 stud inside linebackers, Devin White and Lavonte David, each had 100 total tackles. White had 140 and Lavonte David had 117. And now the third best team that of this group that won a Super Bowl was the 2023 Chiefs this past season. Despite having more or less a brand new wide receiver room consisting of Sky Moore, a rookie, and like a day 3 rookie, Juju Smith-Schuster, who dealt with injuries, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who had just signed with the team, Mahomes was able to have a great year. And they played their best offense at the best time, but, I mean, with how competitive their Super Bowl was, and allowing 35 points to the Eagles, they were definitely docked a little bit. I believe spots 2 and 3 were pretty even, but just with how dominant the 2021 Super Bowl was in favor of the Bucks, that catapulted them over this past season's Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes set a career high in yards this past season at 5,250, added 41 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions, which Mahomes' play, along with their leading 29.2 points per game, catapulted them above the next team. And in my opinion, the worst Super Bowl champ of this decade so far. Not to say they were a bad team by any means, but the worst Super Bowl champ of this decade so far was the 2021 to 2022 Los Angeles Rams. Their 27.1 points per game on offense was good for 7th in the NFL that season, but the worst mark among this group. 21.9 points per game allowed by their defense, which was 15th in the NFL, which I believe, due to Matt Stafford's interception struggles, through 17 of them, I believe that 21.9 points per game allowed was a result of those 17 interceptions. If Stafford had been able to cut down on those interception numbers, then I believe they would have had a significantly better defensive scoring team. But, what can you do? However, Matt Stafford did throw for almost 4,900 yards and 41 touchdowns in the regular season, which helped star receiver Cooper Kupp win the Triple Crown, led the lead in catches with 145, led the lead in yards with 1,947, which is second most in a single season all time, and 16 touchdowns, which that's almost a touchdown a game. So great season from Kupp, and outside of the interceptions, great year from Stafford. And obviously, with those interceptions, the Rams showed that they were able to battle through adversity. And we saw that as well with the Super Bowl against the Bengals. They started out the second half not great, but they were able to come back and win, thanks in part to the front seven being able to get pressure on Cincinnati. And now I'd like to let you know that this video was sponsored by Outdoor Rush. They have a great line of hats, and this shirt that I'm wearing is actually from Outdoor Rush, and they are a great faith-based brand, and I love wearing their products. I recently got a new icy white hat. I wore it in my interview with Harding defensive backs Zach O'Day and Luke Martin, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite hats, so go check them out. The link will be in the description. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed.